The Psyche of Success, the video blog that helps you reach the next level. Education, entertainment, and motivation to help you and your team succeed in business and in life. Subscribe, share, and learn. Welcome to the Psyche of Success with your host, Jody Holland.
Hey guys, Jody Holland here with Andrew Brandt. Welcome back to the Psyche of Success. We are going to have a fantastic episode today. One of the things I love about Andrew is not only is he an entrepreneur and a business owner, he's also a fellow author. So, Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell people a little bit about what you do.
Well, first, Jody, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the time and the space here. My name is Andrew J. Brandt. I'm a local author, an entrepreneur, but really I promote myself as an author.
Awesome. So how old were you when you started writing?
I think it's a very stereotypical question that
It is.
Every author gets.
Yeah, because I get it asked all the time.
Because the stereotypical answer is since I was very young,
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a specific gene or it's nature or nurture, that kind of thing. But the quick answer to that question is I was a young boy. I grew up in a library. My grandmother was a librarian. I discovered Goosebumps books, very young.
Yes.
And my first stories were these kind of like Goosebumps knockoffs. In fact, I remember specifically writing when I was 9, 10 years old about this 20-page book, that was this Goosebumps knockoff about a boy who got a magic pencil that all the monsters that he drew came to life, and he had to destroy the monsters.
That's awesome.
Ate their way through his house. Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually would like that story, I think.
I think a lot of kids would. I think it's, like I said, it was very much influenced by those R.L. Stine books.
Yeah. So I went to the library a lot. I actually mowed the yard for the library. So I don't know if libraries are a common theme as to why people become writers. I didn't really like reading, and I wasn't very good at reading until the librarian. I wish I could remember her name. It was in Canadian, Texas. I was, I think, 10 years old, and she's like, when you guys finish there, come in. I want to show you something.
Right.
So we come in, and she shows us like all about the stars and about all these other cool things. And we're reading it in a book, and we spent an hour and a half reading books at the library, just talking to her. And that, to me, that was a big part of falling in love with the idea of sharing information, was somebody showed me how to access information.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't Google. It was much better. It was an actual book.
An actual library. The same thing. I kind of grew up in a library, spending time after school at the library with my grandmother. I saw a thing on Facebook the other day. Some of you've never read 100 books for a free pizza, and it shows. I was one of those that read the 100 books for the free pizza.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, I don't think I read the 100 books for the free pizza, but my daughters did. They both absolutely, still to this day, love to read. And every summer we did the summer reading program. I think I'm a little older than you are at this point, so we didn't have a summer reading program.
No, and we did, in Texas, and that was great because around the same time I got really, really interested, like heavily interested into Star Wars. I discovered this was 97, 98, so I was 10, 11, 12 years old at this point, and the special editions were coming out, and the prequels were starting to come out, and then I realized, oh my God, they have books about this stuff at the library too. And so I spent my entire summer just plowing through these Star Wars books. Well,
once I fell in love truly with reading, I was that guy that you go to the movie and I'm like, this is not as good as a book.
Oh yeah.
Never as good as a book. 8th grade, I had my English teacher that used to tell us, when you read a book, you get to create your own movie in your mind of what's really going on.
Right.
And I started doing that and just imagining everything that we were reading about. I remember thinking, this is just so much better than Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
So
have you ever had a book that actually really piss you off? Have you ever finished a book and go, oh, my gosh, that was awful?
I think I've read a couple like that. I think they were more business books that annoyed the crap out of me, that I thought, you have no idea what you're talking about, than it was fiction. I read a lot of Frank Peretti and some Grisham, and I'm trying to think of a few other ones. I used to read this series called The Incarnations of Immortality. Okay. It was a sci-fi kind of book. Yeah. And God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. He's like one of the most popular sci-fi authors out there. I'll think of it in a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Admittedly now, though, I pretty much read business books.
Okay.
And I'll read 50 business books a year. Just because it relates so closely to what I do, and it's also what I write. And so I think for me, I'm drawn to the things that are the kind of writing that I would do.
Right.
Like a Patrick Lencioni or a Zig Ziglar or people like that I think, I want to write like that.
Right.
And so you study the masters.
Well, and if you want to write a lot, you need to read a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think you can be creative and create your own content if you haven't been feeding your mind with great content already.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
So I talk a lot about the psychology of success, my background being with having a degree in applied psychology and a bachelor's degree in communication. I know my definition of succeeding. What is your definition of succeeding?
My definition of success now is if you purchase one of my books and I'm able to take that money and put it in my bank account and I'm able to pay my electric bill with that money and it doesn't bounce and I have heat and water and lights, that's a success to me.
Awesome. So getting to do the thing you love, which is writing, and other people loving the thing that you do.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a good definition. I like that.
You know, it's not millions of dollars. It's not otherworldly success. It's just if I'm able to do this and you buy it and I'm able to provide for my family with that, then that's a success to me.
You know, what I found with business books, and I was taught this early on, you can make a lot of money off of a business book without people reading your book. And I went, wait, what do you mean by that?
What?
So I wrote a book called Leadership Evo. This was back in, I think, 2012.
I have Leadership Evo.
Do you really?
On my Kindle, I sure do.
Awesome. Yeah. So I wrote that book, I think it was in 2012.
It's actually about the time that we met.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
2012-ish. And I had seen the book on your desk somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just looked on Kindle and there it was. And $9, let's do this.
Awesome.
Yep.
I turned around the week that it came out and I sold a 2-day class for $5,000 to teach what I wrote in that book.
Okay.
And I've done that multiple times. I have one book that I've made over $3 million off of.
Wow.
Whether or not people read the book, because I turned the book into a class.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of what I've done is, yeah, I do make great money at it and I do get to pay my light bills and do the thing I love. I love talking as much as I love anything else in this world. And so I love taking the ideas, organizing them into a book, and then going out and teaching the course. And there's a lot of people that will buy the book that would never go to a course. And a lot of people that will go to a course, they would never buy the book.
Right.
So one of the questions I get asked a lot, and I'm curious if you get this as well, is by people who want to someday, whenever that is, be an author.
Oh, yeah.
And they go, well, I just don't know how you have time to write. How do you write a book?
Right. Oh, yeah. All the time. I get that question.
So what advice do you give people when they ask you about how do you write a book or how do you find the time to write a book?
So really the answer is if you find the time in your life to sit down and watch television, you have the time in your life to sit down and drive to the gym and go to the gym for an hour. It's dedication to just making that time for that thing. The thing is a lot of time people say, I want to write a book or I'm inspired to write a book, and they'll be inspired for about 5% of the time. Yeah. Okay. You'll never finish if you only write when you're inspired. You have to sit down and dedicate that time every single day to do that thing, just like you would if you're going to the gym or just like you would if you're, learning another skill. It's sitting down, dedicating the time to hit your daily word count.
So is that how you track yours? Is I'm going to try to produce this much per day?
For me, it's at least 1,000 words a day. If I feel like if I did 1,000 words a day, that's where I'm at. If it's 500 words a day, I'm still content because I did something.
Yeah.
But for me, it's 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week. I take the weekends off. What I've been doing recently though is this next book I'm working on. I'm handwriting.
Really? Yeah, I saw you with your journals, handwriting.
Right. Handwriting this entire book, and it's
that's awesome.
50,000 words, all in fountain pen, all in a Lookstrom journal.
Oh my gosh!
And then I spend the weekend of just typing up those 5,000 to 10,000 words that I wrote over the week.
Yeah.
Into this, into a Google Doc.
That's awesome.
But it's really changed the way I write too. I write less, but in a good way.
Yeah. Well, you become more articulate, I think, when your hand is in that movement. I know I journal that way.
There's an articulation. There's an exigency because you're using fewer words because you don't want to type that or you don't want to write that many words.
Yeah. Well, my hand cramps up.
My hand cramps up. Yeah. And I've really discovered, writing by fountain pen. It's a skill and a thing that I kind of borrowed from Neil Gaiman, who said the best word processor is a Waterman fountain pen and a Lookstrom journal. So I said, if it's good enough for Neil Gaiman, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
So
does a trick.
I carry this Waterman fountain pen with me kind of everywhere I go and jot down notes. And even if I'm, working on something else or a website client or anything like that with one of my businesses, the Waterman fountain pen is right there in the pocket all the time.
That's awesome. I have a favorite pen as well, and I'm a collector of pens. I think just goes along with you love to write, you love to express, and I've got probably 50 custom-made pens that I've had done over the years, from antler to acrylic to Georgia pine cone, the core of a pine cone turned into a pen.
So do you have a specific kind of journal? Do you have a specific kind of book that you like to write in?
So I use a bullet journal.
Okay.
And that's what I've been writing in forever. And
is it the bullet journal brand? Is it the Logstrom? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just like that. Yep. It's like the dots and stuff. Yep. And so there's no lines. It's just everything is free flowing because I draw a lot of diagrams, a lot of pictures as I'm writing. And then I have a graphic designer that works for me that I'm like, hey, turn this into a graphic. And it takes my chicken scratching of a drawing and turns it into something that's amazing. My latest book, Smart Accelerated Success System.
I have the book as well.
Awesome. Yeah, like my belief loop that I came up with is a graphic that he did. And then I'd heard several people talk about the drama triangle, and I created my own version of that. Okay. And so, but all of those started with just me drawing stuff out, going, I think it'd be kind of like this, and then getting him to actually make it look presentable in a book.
Right. And it looks great, and I love that book.
Yeah, it's a good book.
It sits in my office.
Awesome. And I'm turning that one into a course called Accelerate.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got the Smart Ass book right next to my now I'm drawing the blank. So we can edit this out in post, right?
It's live. No, we can edit it. Yeah.
But my daily book, I'm completely blanking on the
your daily journal.
The Daily Stoic. I'm sorry,
my gosh,
Ryan Holiday, the Daily
Ryan
Stoic.
Holiday. That's such a good thing. I went through that a couple of years ago.
Every single day, and it sits your book, The Smart Ass for Business Success.
Yeah.
The Smart Ass for your BS. Sits right next to my Ryan Holiday book.
That's awesome.
In my office. Yep.
Ryan Holiday is one of those authors that, just from a self-help perspective, has been so impactful for me.
Again, just filtering in all the information you take in over the years and over time, and being able to present that as a product to help other people. I mean, that's kind of what you do as well.
It is. My goal has always been to take complicated things and simplify them so that you can apply them in your life.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's what I try to do. So all of us have stresses, and I know writing is very relieving as well as sometimes very stressful when you're under a deadline. What is it that keeps you up at night or stresses you out related to your passion?
What keeps me up at night really is getting close to that deadline and worrying to death that even though myself, my editor, advanced readers have gone through one of these, we've highlighted and outlined everything that needs to happen, everything that needs to change. We found all the little things, the
bugs,
the misspelled words, you should have used exigent here instead of something else, or worrying that I'm going to have 200 copies of a book printed for a release party, and there's going to be just a glaring mistake on the first page.
I've done that. Yeah,
I handed my next book coming out in May. I handed it to an advanced reader who's going to review it for me. His name's Rick Treon. Rick Treon's also a local author. And Rick took the book, and the first thing he did is flip through it, and he got to the very end pages, and he looked at it, and he goes, that's supposed to say epilogue, not prologue. I had prologue printed there.
Copy, paste, forgot to change.
Yep, 100%.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting, this was a post of yours on Facebook a week or two ago about your first 1-star review.
Yes.
And I remember my first 1-star review.
I love that 1-star review.
And just the blasting that this guy did. And he went on and on. I don't know if he even read the book because it wasn't a verified purchase. He may have just hated me. I don't know. But it was like, there's no research behind anything that this guy says. And, he's bald and he's ugly and he's chubby and whatever else he could come up with to just cut me down on Amazon.
The thing with my 1-star reviews, it was a verified purchase. And this person who left this review, for me, if I read something, I don't like it, I'm just going to chunk it to the side and not think about it.
Same here.
Again. But the fact that I created this emotional response in this person that was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever read in my entire life, and I need to let everybody know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, at least he had an emotional response. I've read books where I had no response to it.
You know, you just chunk it to the side and no big deal. And there's something to be said for that too, you know, that not every review has been glowing, you know. I think, you know, if you got 20, 25 reviews and they're all 5 stars and, oh my gosh, this person's my best friend and I'm so excited they purchased a book or they published a book, and this seemed fake, you know.
Well, you know, the book that I was saying I made the most money off of, I had it under a different title at one point, but it's called Yay, I'm a Supervisor. Now what? And it takes you through 14 different skills of being a great supervisor. And that's the one I turned into Learn to Lead, which is my kind of #1 leadership course that I teach. That's the one that got the 1-star review, was Yay, I'm a Supervisor.
Right.
I make money on Audible every month with it. I make money in print. I make money on the Kindle version every month on that book, and it's not my 5-star book. So it doesn't matter if there's somebody that doesn't like you. I loved your response to it. Thank you for this. Glad we got that out of the way. Yeah. I learned from it, and we're moving forward.
And tell you know, even though they said, I'll never read anything this guy writes again. Well, hey, you know, you just didn't like the ending of this one. I've got 3 other books. You might like the endings more.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest thing is my first book, which I think is the weakest of the things I've published.
It is for most of us.
Is the biggest selling one. This was
so you guys see that right there.
It's The Treehouse.
You need to go buy all of his books.
Please do. I've got a lot of kids to feed. But The Treehouse, I thought, was the weakest book that I had published because it was the first one. I really didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. It was a learning curve more than anything. It was a science experiment of, can I do this? Can I actually finish a story? You know, I've got a dozen stop-start stories on my laptop.
Oh, yeah.
But The Treehouse is the one the first one that came out completed, and I really wrote it for my kids, and so it wasn't something that I was intending to put out there and make money on, but you know, it did. And to me, it's the weakest of the 3, but it's the biggest selling. I mean, it's sold.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've sold almost 1,000 copies of this book in a year.
So I read a statistic, and this was from Amazon. The average author will sell less than 10 copies of a book in their lifetime.
That's incredible to me. I mean,
that's over 98% of authors never sell more than 10 copies.
That's because The Treehouse became, for me, an accidental success. It was a #1 young adult thriller on Amazon in the United States and in Australia.
That's awesome.
I did a 30-minute Q&A session with my fans on Facebook Live yesterday, and I had fans from France and Brisbane, Australia, and all over the world tuning into this thing. And I'm just... I've got some support staff behind me, but I mean, it's just
Andrew.
Yeah, writing in my kitchen at my writing table or at Urbana coffee shop. You know, it's not. We don't have London behind us. We don't have New York behind us. It's this independent publishing system that we've set up.
Yeah, I love being an indie author. I actually have talked to a number of best-selling authors that made the New York Times bestseller list, and most of them have said, if I had it to do over again, I would have self-published.
You know, I was actually thinking the exact same thing this morning, not necessarily about myself, but I don't know about you, but for me, because we control the printing, we control everything from the printing of it to the publishing to the distribution. Mm-hmm. We make a 70% royalty right on every book, whereas most authors that are traditionally published make 8%.
Yeah,
you know,
like it's under 10%.
Right. If you buy a book from a traditionally published author and it's $30, that author may see $3 of that sale.
Yeah.
For me, it's 70%, and because you're India, I'm going to assume it's kind of the same thing.
Yep.
So I was thinking as I was driving to work this morning to the office, I was wondering, why has Stephen King never gone indie at this point? Why is
he doesn't need a publisher behind him anymore. Like I've wondered the same thing, that the publisher is theoretically there to market you, but what I've gotten from the people I've interviewed is the publisher starts really marketing you after you take off.
Correct.
And they go, I already did all the work. I did the tours. I did all of the setup to get to that point. And admittedly, they get you into stores that I might not get into otherwise, although Amazon is about to start opening brick and mortar stores, bookstores. Right.
Well, I mean,
which is going to help me tremendously.
There's not just Amazon. There's Ingram Spark that has distribution channels through Barnes & Noble, through Target, through Walmart, through the libraries. I mean, the barrier of entry into this, you know, if you're looking at wanting to write books, if you want to be an author, if you've got these stories inside of you, the barrier to entry is almost zero at this point.
Yeah.
You know, you can put your book on Amazon. You can put it through Barnes & Noble using Ingram Spark. You know, it's $80, and all of a sudden, you know, your book can be purchased by anybody who looks for it.
Yeah.
Your book is one click away from the #1 seller.
Yeah. And it's just the right person reads it and goes, oh, this is amazing. So it makes me think about like Oprah's book club. Anytime Oprah would go, I'm here with Andrew J. Brandt, who wrote In the Fog, #1 best-selling author. Go buy this book. That day, you're a best-selling author.
You have the audience.
You have even if nobody had ever heard of your book or you, and she says that, that's influencers validating the need for the book.
Right.
So I think it's absolutely awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And then this one is one of your, I mean, it's an awesome book right here, The Abduction of Sarah Phillips.
That one is my favorite of the three.
Yeah.
That one I think is the most me in a character. I wrote this story quick on the heels of The Treehouse. The Treehouse, like I said, was a science experiment, and I still had these creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
And the first draft of this came out in about 6 weeks. You know, I wrote 60,000 words in just 6 weeks. Came out. Handed it to my editor. He was great. His name's Brandon Biggers. He's an English teacher here in town, but he also does book editing and copy editing on the side. And he and I have really kind of partnered up for this whole venture. And he read through it. He's like, you know, it was obviously written in 6 weeks, so we spent some time, tightened it up. And but that's the great thing about a second draft. The second draft is there to make it look like you knew what you were doing all along.
Yeah. Yeah. For those people who think that their first draft is what they're publishing, no. If you do, that's why you're only selling less than 10 copies of your book.
There's something to be said for that. Even within the fog, I started this book in May, and I got about 5,000, 6,000 words into it, and those first 5,000, 6,000 words just came out super quick, super easy.
Yeah.
Got to about 15,000 words, and then just ground to a halt.
Yeah.
And it was really a lot of work to get through this writer's block, and I'd never experienced that, you know, in the first 2 books. And then we had a tragedy. My wife and I lost a baby, and then to cope, I went back and I started writing again because I'd set it aside for about 2 months, and this was my coping mechanism to finish this. And my editor looked through it, Brandon looked through it, and he's like, I can see exactly where you got the writer's block. I can see where it started to become work for you.
Because when you know, you're always trying to get past that hesitation or that block, and there's different ways that people do that. For me, I'll go exercise for 30 minutes and then come back to it. I've also found certain times of day are better for writing than other times of day. Right. I have to have my stress level the best that I can. But even if it's crap, I still sit down and write. And you may throw it away, but you sit down and write.
And the great thing, though, is you can also edit crap.
Yes, you can.
You can make crap better. You cannot edit a blank page.
Yeah. You can turn it into that Shinola.
But that's the story behind In the Fog. And it's sold, and it's been selling. It's gone on sale since November, and it's up there with The Treehouse now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I will be reading these. I record my books actually here in this studio, my Audible books. Okay. And it's worked out fantastic for me.
So actually, let's go down that road a little bit. You do your own audiobooks.
I do my own audiobooks. I'm at my Blank Space Studio. That's where we're filming this right now and recording this. But I sit here at this table, and I have an iPad right out here, like on a little stand. Okay. And I just scroll through the iPad and read into the microphone. And once you record it, now there is mastering and editing that goes in behind that, but that's where the studio comes in. But I sit here and I just record my book and get it done, and then I publish through ACX, which is about the only way that I know of to get to Audible if you don't have a publishing company.
So the same thing, I publish through ACX, but I hire narrators. And my phone medic business partner, Gabe Morgan, he's constantly telling me, like, you've got to do your next book yourself. Like, you've got the voice to do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah. And there's something, to me, I think there's something about, you know, the emotion that was supposed to be there.
Right.
Somebody else is reading it, and they'll read a clip out of it, and you might think, that was supposed to be scary. You don't sound scared at all.
Right. And
it's frustrating.
Luckily, I think I've developed a really good relationship with the guy who's been narrating my books. His name is Mike Athey, and Mike lives up in Colorado, and he's done The Treehouse. He's working on finishing up The Abduction now. and I've already sent the manuscript for the next book to him. And so he's really great about that inflection, though. And that's one thing I really like about Mike, and it's why I continue to use Mike. But I do have another book in the works. I'm about 20,000 words into it. That the story is close enough to my heart that I think I want to do the narration myself.
Well, here's a studio right here.
I guess this is where I want to do it. You've heard it here first.
Yeah. No, I like doing it. There's one book I did not narrate myself, and that was The Quest.
Okay.
And I kind of wrote it with a reflection of lessons learned from my dad and most of the book. And I had my brother read the book. He's just got the right voice for that story.
Okay.
But I had him read the book a couple of times and then read the book into the microphone. So, and he's going to do the follow-up to that. I did The Quest, and then I did Living the Quest, which is how you apply the 7 lessons that were in the Quest.
So, your publishing is a little different from mine because you're writing a lot of self-help, a lot of business books. Right. What is your publishing schedule like? I mean, do you set yourself a timeline to where you want an X amount of books per year, or one book a year?
I want a book a year.
One book a year, okay.
Yeah, that's what I generally try to get, is one book a year. Now, 2014... I was really sick of people telling me that they just didn't have time to read a book a month, because that's what I've always told people is you need to read at least one book per month to keep your mind sharp. Right. So I wrote 12 books in 2014.
Oh my gosh.
To show people that if I can write 12 freaking books in a year, you can read them.
Oh my gosh.
So I have 19 books out now.
Okay.
Because 2014 was production year.
Wow.
But it was 6, sometimes 7 days a week writing. And I blocked about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day for the writing. And I would send it to an editor and rewrite and get going on the next piece. And so it was like this constant process. What I like to do is I like to write the book, and what I map everything out in an app called iThoughts. Okay. It's a mind map deal. So I'll put the book, I'll put like what it's about, kind of a general synopsis. I'll pick what the chapters are going to be, and I'll play with the order of the chapters for a while, and I'll do the intro paragraph for every one of the chapters, and then you export that into Word, and then you start writing.
Okay.
And so I've got the opening paragraph of every chapter written, and that gives me this is what I was thinking at that point, and then I write through that. I can generally write a chapter in one sitting.
Okay.
And so that's what I generally do. It's about 2,500 words in an hour.
Okay, so I was going to say, do you write for time, or do you write for word count at that
Typically point? 1 hour.
Okay.
And I kind of have a target. I try to keep my chapters pretty even on the size of the chapter. Mm-hmm. And like what I did with Smartass, I not only mapped out the chapter, like here's the title of the chapter and a short description. I said, here's the key points I want to make in this chapter. And I'm doing that from now on because it made it so much easier to go, you got 5 points to make. And so it's like writing 5 blogs.
Okay.
And your chapter's done.
I like that. See, I'm totally different. Of course, I write fiction,
right?
But I don't plot. I don't. I think start with an outline.
You've got to let fiction go where the story goes with your heart and your soul. I think
for me, it's very much. I almost start with like a what if scenario.
Yeah.
I like to start with ordinary characters and put those characters in extraordinary situations. Like in the treehouse. The treehouse is about 3 little boys who build a secret treehouse out in the woods.
Yeah.
Behind their neighborhood. Their parents don't know, but it's their hangout place.
Yeah.
And their first night, they finish this treehouse and they say, we're going to spend the night in this thing. And they witness a guy bury a body just yards from their treehouse.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So it's these 3 little boys who witness this extraordinary situation. And you write how to get the characters out of that situation.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so In the Fog that came out in November, it started as an idea I've had for 10 years. I don't think I was mature enough as a writer, as a person, to write this kind of story.
Yeah.
But it's about an entire town wakes up and all the women, all the females have vanished in the middle of the night. Their gowns and their rings are in their beds, and
they're just gone.
They're just gone. So it's this kind of supernatural mystery. Except for, and the thing is, all the women have vanished except for one. She's found murdered.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I
will read.
I hope you're pissed off because you can't put it down.
Yeah. Well, those are my favorite books.
Good.
That's Frank Peretti, who is kind of a sci-fi / spiritual author. Mm-hmm. I've read a bunch of his stuff, and it was that way. He wrote This Present Darkness was the first one that I read, and I was in college, and it's 450 pages or something. It's a crazy long book. I didn't stop until it was done, and I was exhausted, and I didn't sleep all night, and Those are my favorite books, the ones that you can't put down because you just got to find out the rest of the story.
And I've been going back and I've been rereading some of Stephen King's old, through his bibliography, and I'm currently on Pet Sematary, which you want to talk about something, I mean,
talk about creep you out,
but you know, turning the pages and like, I've got to go to bed, but okay, just one more chapter.
Yeah.
And you've kind of flipped through like, this one's only 6 pages. Okay.
Well, I'm going to do this one. He's amazing. I mean, that's the master right there.
You know, one of the prolific authors of our time, but even he
was rejected by 30 publishers before he got a publishing deal, and he almost just said, screw it, I'm never writing again. And his wife convinced him to try again.
Tabitha pulled Carrie out of the trash bin. He had the entire manuscript, threw it in the trash. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
She pulled it out like, no.
You got this.
You got this.
Try a couple more times. And 2 more attempts. Then he got published. More than 100 million copies.
Isn't that incredible?
Sold of his books.
And what I like about technology now is that's incredibly possible for you and for me to reach our audience like that.
Yeah. Well, the digital age with the Kindle and everything that we have now at our disposal, it's like you could have 50,000 people have your book the day that it comes out.
And that's why I went indie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're in control of it. So what advice would you give to people about chasing their passion and finding their success?
So the biggest thing for me, chasing the passion, finding your success, is knowing and understanding that you're not going to be inspired to chase that success 100% of the time.
That's good.
Okay? You have to work at it.
Yeah.
If you only do it when you're inspired, if you only go to the gym when you're inspired, if you only learn whenever you're inspired, you'll only learn 10% of the time. You'll only make 10% of your time to do that thing. It's dedication. It's sitting down and doing it. Whether it's writing books, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's making a lifestyle change, you have to understand that it's the dedication, not the inspiration.
Absolutely. So if people want to buy your books, where do they go to buy your books? How do they get in touch with you? How do they follow you?
So my favorite way for you to buy my books is directly from me. You can go to my website, www.writerbrandt.com. That's WRITER, Brandt.com. All of my books are available for sale through my website. If you order directly from me, they come autographed.
Oh, fantastic.
Also available on my website are T-shirts. I consulted with another creative in town named Derek Porterfield, and we did some really cool designs. Now, T-shirts, if you buy one of the T-shirts, either the I like big books and I cannot lie, or the reading is sexy T-shirt.
I love that.
50% of those profits go back to local literacy agencies.
That's fantastic.
So you can buy the books, you can buy the T-shirts, but hey, if you want to go traditional brick and mortar, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Locally in town, you can get my books from Burrowing Owl. They've got autographed copies at Burrowing Owl bookstores.
I love Burrowing Owl.
But you know, if you're just in Barnes & Noble, if you're perusing on Amazon, of course, you can buy them from all the regular chains as well.
So I want to challenge you guys. If you're listening to this, go take a picture holding one of Andrew's books at a bookstore and post it on social media. And then how can they tag you on Facebook or Instagram? So
find me on Facebook. It's at Writer Brandt. You can find me at that tag anywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the website itself, Writer Brandt. Tag me on that, and you take a picture with it, and maybe we'll do a really cool T-shirt giveaway or something. Hey, that would be awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed it. Hope you've learned a lot. I love hanging out with authors, and I'm jealous because I think it's a different mind that writes a fiction book than what writes a business book. And I think I love the creativity of the fiction and being able to bring a story to life. So I think you're awesome, Andrew. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Psyche of Success. Give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, share with your friends, take out billboards about how much you love us if you want, but just make sure to apply the lessons learned and live fully into your potential. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Psyche of Success.